Hello, bonjour. Welcome to Pardon Our French with Quincy and Justine. Welcome back to this week. Quincy, you had a very eventful weekend, and I haven't heard anything about it yet, so please tell me.
Well, I was at a French castle this weekend at a birthday party for my French host sister's 25th birthday. And it was basically me and 25 other Frenchies.
Whoa.
Yeah. Completely French weekend. I did not speak a lick of English because it's nice to just, when you're in those moments, of course. But then also I feel like some of them were trying to say phrases in English, and then they were like, how was it? And I was like, it was so good. I was like, let's just switch back to French. Okay. I was like, it sounds so great. No, it was a lot of fun. It was gorgeous weather. I mean, it was so hot. Right now we're in the canicule, the heat wave. We actually swam in the Seine because the Chateau is in Burgundy, and so it's farther down. It's actually near the source of the Seine, about 30 kilometers from the source of the Seine.
So clean water.
Yeah, cleaner water than in Paris. They're trying to get the Seine in Paris ready for the Olympics, to do some of the Olympic events. And they actually had a test like 2 weeks ago, and they're like, oh,
they did a test?
Yeah, they did a test because they wanted to have like some swimmers actually go in. They're like, no, you can't go anywhere near that shit.
Yeah. Oh, I saw like divers practicing.
Yeah.
And then I've also been on TikTok where these guys like magnet fish. And by that I mean they throw a giant magnet in the Seine and see what they can find. And they find like fire extinguishers.
Oh my God.
Knives, a gun. Like they find so much.
I think like there was some report where there's like thousands of the trottinettes at the bottom of the Seine, which are
no
now,
longer happening.
Yeah, no longer able to be used in Paris.
Yeah, no more electric scooters.
Yeah. So we were swimming in the Seine. Apparently her grandmother, first of all, both her grandparents were there. They were so cute.
Oh,
she apparently
really
swims
sweet.
in the Seine 3 times a day, but she can't really walk that far down to the river, so he drives her down every day and like sits by the side of the Seine while she does her little laps.
That's really cute.
Very cute indeed.
Goals.
And we played a lot of spike ball, or as the French called it, spike.
Spike?
Just spike. Le spike.
I hate spike ball.
It was actually my first time playing, and I had a lot of fun. But I was also eliminated in the first round, so I didn't get that much playtime.
Yeah. It's such a thing in California.
It's like they clearly had a lot of practice, and I did not. So, and then we had, of course, the night was the disco-themed Rager.
Yes.
It started outside when it was still light, but then since the grandparents were there, we moved it down to the wine cellar.
Casual.
And casual. Again, it's a chateau because people have those. And wow, the night was just, there was so many things that happened this entire night. I mean, and I was able to fully admire and take in all of these moments because I was having my little non-alcoholic champagne. And everyone else was not having that. There were like several moments like later on the night where I was like, this is quite dangerous. And I just observed a couple things where I was like, this is not good.
Where's the nearest hospital?
Yeah, literally. And I was like, I'm the only one who could drive right now, and I
hate driving.
Can't even drive. Yeah. I can't even drive. So it's not looking good. But anyways, it was just so French. Like it's been a while since I've been around that many French people and like only French people. Mm-hmm. And I would find myself just like observing them and just being like, the French, you know? Like it started out with like the music was like 70s, 80s, like very like classic, like a lot disco. Of sing-along disco stuff. And then like later it just got into like the most French music.
Yes.
That they all like went crazy over. This was actually one of the things that I thought was quite dangerous. There was one song where all the guys got down on the floor and sat in a line. And
they like throw each other over?
Yeah, they throw you over and they like pass you down the line. But, you know, we're in a wine cellar and everyone's drunk. And so they're kind of like holding you, but like half not. And then
that's the fun of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, will my head crack open at the end of this? I don't know.
I think that's happened to at every French party I've been to.
And then they were like, Quincy, come on. And I'm like, first of all, I'm just wearing a bodysuit. And so I felt a little self-conscious about like going front down onto all these guys. Like, I was like, I don't really love this, now? You know? Yeah. But then, of course, the more that I was like, no, the more they were like, come on. And so I was like, and I kind of like managed. But the whole time I was going over them, I was saying out loud, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this so much. So that was one of the very French things. There actually was a ping pong table downstairs, which was very fun.
Okay.
And I took
like beer pong or like
no, just ping pong.
Okay.
I took the lead on that. That was the point at which the grandfather actually came down into the cellar just to like observe, and he watched, and then like the next day he was like, "You're really good at ping pong." Oh, I was like, "Oh, thank you. Thank you, Peepak." That's so sweet of you to say. So sweet of you to say. I was like, well, I also was sober, so everyone else was...
Was I good? Was everyone else bad?
Exactly. Exactly. But there was one, so a very funny situation was that this guy had said he spent a year in a high school in Syracuse, New York. And so he like wanted to talk to me about all these things. And at one point I was like sitting there trying to explain to French people what like lacrosse is. And it just was not going well.
Yeah.
Because I was like,
you throw a ball from a stick with a net.
Yeah. And just like the French words at that point, I was like, how do I explain lacrosse in French too?
Un bâton avec un panier.
And they wanted me to explain like how the field was set up and like all this stuff. And I was just like
a miniature soccer field.
Yeah, I was like,
football,
but they, and like the positions of everyone and all this. And it was just, and then I was like, how do you say that, like, le panier, and then of the goalkeeper, I couldn't remember what goalkeeper was, is bigger and, blah, blah, blah.
Le gardien.
Le gardien. But this guy basically just was like reminiscing about his time in the US, and he had some funny things that he remembered that he was telling me about. He told me that he was very, very confused and just concerned by the whole concept of detention, which he clearly had a couple times.
Yeah. I could imagine.
He was like, at one point you're just sitting in your chair learning something with everyone else, and the next moment the director's coming in and like taking you to their office, and you have no idea what you've done, and then you have to go for the rest of the day and sit and like, repeat, your studies or whatever, practice your writing, all this kind of stuff. And he was just like, that's not something that you do in France. Like he's like, I'd be like, and he was like, it would just be for being like 10 minutes late to class.
Oh yeah. If I've gotten detention 4 times, and it's because of my tardiness.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you want me to do? I'm 13 years old. I can't drive, and my parents, my parents are the reason I'm late.
He was very confused by that and was like talking about how that was something that
it's unfair for sure.
He was just like, it felt like he seemed to be like very lost in the idea of it and like what was going on.
Yeah, like why is this punishment? Is it even worth it? I could imagine he'd be lost at the idea of that.
Yeah, he was very lost at that. But all in all, his description of his year was like he loved it. Mm-hmm. There was this other guy who was telling me that he was like, oh, I want to go to the United States, but I was like, oh, like New York, California. That's like usually where French people go when they go to the United States. And he was like, no, I want to go to Texas, where the guys wear blue jeans and wear cowboy hats. And I was like, okay. I was like,
go for it.
Sure.
Fort Worth is waiting for you.
Yeah. But then the last thing that this guy told me that he loved doing when he was in this school in Syracuse was he said he loved saying the Pledge of Allegiance every day.
God. My least favorite thing to do.
I was like, really? And he was like, oh, I really loved like being patriotic. And then he said if I did that in France, I would be considered a extrême droite.
Yeah, because it's like not patriotic, it's controlling as fuck.
Yeah. No, and then he was obviously drunk, but like he was very excited about it. He's like, let's say it together. And I was like, I don't know. Okay. So we did.
I love the movement of your hand over the heart.
Yeah.
Did you guys both do that?
Yes, we did. I was like, I haven't said the Pledge of Allegiance in years. But I did have it in my head, though there was one point, the point at which it says one nation under God. It is typical in my family, being agnostic and such. We say one nation under Canada.
Yes.
That's my Aunt Lucy. Thank you, Aunt Lucy.
I love it.
So we say one nation under Canada. He said one nation under God. He got mad at me. And I was like, well, you guys are the French ones who are so obsessed with laïcité.
Yeah.
Why are you telling me this? Like, don't you think?
I know.
Don't you agree? Like, I thought that they would agree with me in saying that. But They completely did not. And then I was like, the French state is so centered around, and like that's the whole idea of, you know, separation of church and state, you know, secularism, like having that. And I just thought it was funny that he was like against.
Yeah, because it was like that. That's what it is. So you have to say what it is.
Yeah, and he loved it. He was like, this is like the best part.
Wow.
It's like, here's something new every day.
Honestly, that is such a French thing. Such a French thing for them to love the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah. And then, of course, that was around like 3:30. We were standing in the doorway of like the girls' bunk room because I was actually going to sleep. I was like, it's 3:30. I'm tapped out. Like, you know.
Can't believe you lasted that long.
And he was like, well, c'est interdit d'aller se coucher à 3 heures du matin. And I was like, well,
it's forbidden to go to bed that early.
Yeah. I find out the next day they stayed up until 6 a.m.
That's typical. I think we did that once. And it was with all of Jean's friends. So, so another thing, very French. Went to bed at 7 a.m. Actually, I've done that twice. And
like when you're in the
French
right
people,
vibe, I guess. Yes. But then also at that point, I was like, my knees really hurt. It's like I was wearing heels the whole night. My knees really hurt.
Did other people wear heels? Like, did they dress up?
Everyone dressed up, but I think I was the only one wearing heels.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to say, I feel like themed parties, like, they'll dress on theme, but comfortably.
Yeah. Well, then I was like, the only thing I had was that and Birks. And I was like, am I going to wear my Birkenstocks?
I'm sure other people wore Birks.
They actually, there were a lot of Birkenstocks. I felt like I was in good company. But then I was like, the look is better with the heels. So I went with the heels. But yeah, I ended up going to bed because I was just like, everyone's getting too drunk. I'm not enjoying this anymore, really. There was this whole situation. I accidentally went stargazing with one of them.
Accidentally is such a funny word to use in that sentence.
So we were in the wine cellar and it was getting hot. So like about an hour or two in, this one guy goes and opens the door to the outside. And I was like, it was like I was drawn to the door.
You're like, yes, take
And then
me
all
away.
of a sudden he was outside and I was outside. No one else was outside. And we were looking at the stars for like 45 minutes.
See those in Paris.
I know, but in that moment, I was actually like loving looking at the stars because I'm like, I mean,
you don't see them in Paris.
You don't see them in Paris. So it was so bright. You could see the Milky Way. You could see Jupiter. It was amazing.
So cool.
But I was like, I'm not doing this so that I can like stargaze with you. I'm doing this so that I can stargaze here by myself while you just happen to also be here.
Yeah.
You know? But then it was clear it was becoming a bit of a sticky
Getting
situation.
The wrong idea.
Yeah, after that there was a lot of like leaning over, touching the low back. And I was like, no. So
I've got an itch.
Yeah. At one point he goes, I'll be right back. And I don't know where he went. And I was like, this is my time. I was like, let's go inside. And I'm like, I'm going to go and find someone else, you know, and I felt kind of bad, but I'm just like, at the same time, I don't, you know, I don't want to be
bad about that.
I don't want to be in a more uncomfortable, you know, situation than I was. So
yeah.
And I know he'll never listen to this because he doesn't speak a lick of English. So it's fine. But yeah, so that whole discussion though at the end of this whole about laïcité got me thinking, because right now in the French news,
do you want to explain a little bit what that is?
Yes. Back it up. This is actually like one of the biggest topics because right now I'm also studying for the French nationality
exam or whatever.
Exam or interview. And so the motto of France is liberté, égalité, fraternité. And so they often say what would be the fourth, and it's laïcité. Basically the idea of separation of church and state, secularism. French are all about it. So it's been in the laws for a while that in France you're not allowed to wear a sign. In French it's signe de religion, any religious symbols, in school. And so you're not allowed to wear a cross necklace. You're not allowed to wear a hijab. That's obviously the most visible symbol of religion, and so it has caused some controversy that it disproportionately affects Muslim students. And 2 years ago, I think they added the law that if a parent was accompanying any school visit or anything like that, the mother also could not wear a hijab either. And now there's France has a new education minister, and he made the announcement to ban the abaya right before school began this year. So basically any like long, more like dress garments that Muslim students wear.
Like a full body cover, basically.
Yeah. And so their idea is that, school is for everyone and it's a secular place. And so they don't want schools to be an area where religion is imposed on students.
Or identifiable even.
Yeah. Or identifiable. Yeah. And so basically they actually did a poll and 80% of the French people who responded to this poll approve of this ban on the abaya.
Yeah. And this is to prevent like bullying because like they might like identify your religion and bully you for it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons for it.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people who say, oh, this is a space for young women who might not, be old enough to make a decision about what they want their religion to be, to have the space to be free of these.
Or like what that actually means for them.
Yeah, what that means for them to be free of that during the school day, things like that. And so there's lots of points of view, but it's also really important because France in general like has a very complicated history with the Muslim population and has a history of things being construed by extremists.
Yeah.
In 2020, there was actually a teacher at a middle school who was beheaded, basically because...
Like beheaded?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Straight up beheaded.
That's like a big word. We can't even casually say. Like his head was cut off. Like,
yeah. And it was basically because a father of one of these students had seen circulated in a Facebook group that the teacher was showing cartoons of Muhammad in his civics class. And so that got around to the wrong group of people on the internet, basically, and this teacher was beheaded. Yeah.
Separation of church and state has always been. And so it's like now, like how can you enforce that on different religions? Because historically, France is a very Catholic country. So it's like, yeah, I think as time goes on, it's like you have to make adjustments. And what does that look like? And then with everything that happens in the world and in France specifically, like how do we gère everything?
Yeah.
But on a lighter topic,
yes,
another way that separation of church and state is a thing. We've talked about jokingly getting paxed so that Quincy can stay here forever. But actually, my godmother sent me a text about like all of these things comparing pax to marriage in France and like what that means and how they're different and like what does it affect. And there are things that I had never known.
Yeah.
Because I've been making jokes about getting paxed with friends forever just in order to like for them to stay in the country. But like I didn't know a lot of things that like maybe that's not even a possibility because there's like a whole process that has to be put in place or whatnot.
Yeah.
But basically, pax is different from marriage because it's not recognized as a legal union by most countries and not at all by the U.S. So
saying that if you got paxed, that you wouldn't be recognized as married in any other country.
Yeah.
Basically. Wow.
And the only legal marriage in France is one conducted by the mayor. So that's another separation. It's not by the church. It's by the mayor, like, or the government.
Well, I feel like that's the same in the U.S. because technically you have to go get your marriage license and then you get married by the church.
I guess you're only recognized by the church if you get married in a church.
So you're saying, though, that a pact is not like a civil union in the way that, like, if you just went to City Hall and didn't do any of the church stuff.
Yeah.
That's not a pax.
No.
That's different from a pax.
They're completely different. Okay. Paxes are a lot easier. But they don't guarantee survivorship rights to each partner. So, and partners have no rights to each other's retirement income. It can help, but doesn't guarantee citizenship, while marriage makes it automatic. Fathers, if you were to have a child in a paxed union, if you will, are not automatically recognized as being affiliated with the children at all.
That's kind of crazy.
And that was wild. I think that was the biggest shock for me.
Damn.
The only legal parental authority is the mother. And because they're not automatically recognized, child support and obligations are hard to obtain.
Oh.
If need be.
Gosh.
Because when you end PAX, all you have to do is sign a piece of paper and it annuls it, like, immediately. And it's, like, the same for adoption. So only one of the parents is the legal guardian.
Wow.
And fiscal inheritance implications and or child support rights in the case of separation are only to that one parent who is the legal.
I'm confused by this, though, because, you know, in the beginning, the Pax was made to be the best option for gay couples to get married.
Yeah.
So in that case, you know, you either have a father, or you have a mother. And so in that case,
it was basically just to make their partnership
it's not even granting
recognized
the same parental rights among
so lots
same-sex
of
couples.
Yeah, so a lot of same-sex couples who were Pax actually got married afterwards just so that they could have that recognition. Like once like same-sex marriage became legal.
Wow.
So yeah, it's wild. And apparently Pax are only 7 to 10% of unions in France, which I thought was a lot higher. Because
that seems very low.
A lot of people I know who are my age or just a little bit older are Paxed and choose to be Paxed rather than get married.
Yeah.
But 70 to 75% are marriages. It's just wild to me. So anyways, I guess it's not as easy as we thought to keep you in the country.
Shucks.
Oh, man.
God. Well.
Interesting things to think about. Personal shout out to Elora. Sorry, that's not an option anymore.
Wait, I had dibs on the Pax option.
Yeah, so many people have asked. You know how
have
many
you
people
offered
have
your
approached
Pax to that many people?
I haven't offered it. Most of those people are just like, but then we just get Paxed.
Yes.
Assuming.
Okay. Fair. Well, this weekend coming up is the French tradition of the Journée, or it's a European tradition.
Yeah.
Of the Journée
de Patrimoine.
For Christ's sakes. The Journées de Patrimoine. Oh my God.
To which I was like, huh?
Yeah, Justine doesn't know what these are. I, the American, am very excited and ready to take advantage of the French Journée de Patrimoine.
And
basically,
Culture Day.
I'm teaching Justine about it. Well, it's 2 days, first of all.
Culture Days.
Get your facts straight. They are days where all these French cultural sites and political sites open their doors to French citizens.
Yes.
So some of these places are just museums that will open for free for the day, but a lot of them are places that are never open to the public except for these 2 days out of the year. So I was very on top of it this year because my brother is actually coming to visit me for the first time ever, which I'm so excited about. And
Yay, Ben!
Yay, we're so excited. And I just want to have things to show him that aren't, you know, necessarily just a ton of museums because I know that's not really his thing. So I thought taking him to some of the Journées de Patrimoine openings would be really cool, such as I kind of went overboard because, and I was like really on top of it because I had all the Eras Tour prep.
Oh, yes.
So I got us tickets to go see the Hôtel de Ville.
Okay.
Which is
that's actually very
beautiful.
Cool. To specify, you don't have to be a French citizen to partake.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And before COVID, they were not really organized, I should say, is that you just had to show up and wait in line to go in. But then since COVID, they have, thank God, set up a reservation system.
Are they finally realizing that technology could be
Oh my God. No, because in the past, I never did it because I was like, I don't want to go spend 5 hours waiting in line. Like, that just doesn't sound fun.
No, that's why I've never I'm like, what is that? Because I'm like, not interested.
Well, now it's based on reservation. And so I got Hôtel de Ville, I got La Banque de France.
Okay, why not?
They all have like very beautiful ceilings. You know, it's not just like a bank. It's of course like a French bank. So it's like luxurious and pretty.
My company's in an old bank and it wasn't anything special, but it's gorgeous.
Yeah, exactly. So they have all these like beautiful ceilings akin to what you might find in Versailles. Where else were we going? Oh, I got us tickets to go to the Assemblée Nationale, the National Assembly. So that's where a lot of political things happen.
Yeah.
Very excited about that. And then the star of the show is we're going to the Élysée Palace. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Where Macron lives.
Which
French
is the
president.
equivalent of like the White House.
Right. But unlike the White House, they never open this to the public except for these 2 days. So I'm very excited for that.
That's so cool.
I'm positive that Macron will not be there. I'm sure he will
Well, of course. He's going to be like, strangers in my home?
Yeah.
I will go to my vacation home.
We're going to go stomp on all of his rugs. That's a very cool thing to be like, okay, I saw that.
Yeah. I'm really jealous of the Hôtel de Ville one because I'm super curious.
Yeah. So I've actually been in
Oh.
before. I just really want to take my brother there, but I have actually been in. They do allow like very special occasions, school visits.
Ah.
And so I went as a school visit.
I see.
I've actually been on a school visit to the Assemblée Nationale as well. So basically, these 2 days of the weekend, you can go and visit all these places. Of course, the ones that I've just named are reservation-based and no longer have tickets. Actually, I was 4,000 or 5,000 in line for the Élysée Palace.
Whoa.
And I was like there and waiting.
Yeah.
And then I looked on, like, I just went on my phone to see how big the line got, and it was like 15,000 people.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's really cool, honestly.
I mean, nothing compared to the Eras Tour. That was like 40,000 at least. Macron wishes he was that popular. But
Taylor Swift rules the world.
she really does, for real. But yeah, I'm very excited, and kind of it's fun to also have someone in town to be doing these things with, because normally I don't get out and go visit cultural sites on my day-to-day, you know?
This is also a special occasion being the Journées de Patrimoine. So.
Yes, exactly. But I'm very excited. I'm taking him to some other places.
We're doing our Paniche night.
We are doing Paniche. The Paniche is the best.
It's so fun.
We can link it at some point.
Yes. I guess maybe you guys can have access to that.
To our very exclusive Paniche. Very insider tip.
Paniche, by the way, is a boat.
Yes, a croisière. Oh, that's also French.
Yeah. A cruise.
A cruise, yes, thank
Yes.
you. That's what I was.
They're also called bateau mouche sometimes, which I hate.
Yeah, but the bateau mouche are the one where you sit on and you just are like,
It's not fun.
it's not fun. You're just sitting there with a bunch of other tourists. This one that we're going on has like 2 bars on it. It's dancing. There's good music.
DJ, turns into a party.
Yeah.
Lots of locals.
Mm-hmm. It's a good time.
It's really fun. So you might see us on Insta.
Yeah. Definitely.
No, that's really cool. Maybe one day I will partake in this Journée de Patrimoine.
Totally.
Now that I know that you can reserve ahead of time.
Yeah. But they're very, like, they never, like, really announced, like, when they would all go on sale.
No, of course not.
They want to be very, like, discreet about it, and then just, like, appears
Only
and
the
disappears.
people who care about the culture will know.
Yeah.
Yeah, this weekend sounds fun. And hopefully it cools down so you're not, like, burning hot.
Yes, hopefully it'll cool down. Hopefully it
Who
won't
knows,
rain.
maybe Macron has AC.
I bet he does, that bastard. I bet he does.
For his giant house.
Yeah.
Too good. You'll have to let me know. One thing I'm curious about.
You know what they do say? If it ever gets too hot, you're supposed to go down and visit the catacombs.
Yeah, well, no thanks. I get claustrophobic, so...
Yeah, imagine being in a tunnel underground surrounded by old bones. I'd rather not.
And
You've
freaked
done it?
out, yeah.
I refuse to do it.
And you have
But
to go
apparently it's
down.
quite cool down there.
I'm sure it is. I mean, it's cool in my courtyard, okay? I can just sit there. Thank you. Don't need to be surrounded by dead people who were disturbed in their graves and placed in tunnels.
You know, they actually did
dismembered from their other bones and decorated.
They actually did a chase scene through the catacombs in the French Netflix series Lupin, which I highly recommend watching. It's
it is
really great.
good.
With Omar Sy. I'm obsessed with him.
Yeah.
He's such a good actor.
He's hot.
There's that too.
Sean's like...
But anyways, so those are our tips for this weekend. The Journées de Patrimoine and I guess the catacombs if you must.
If you'd like to do that, why not? You might get dizzy going down the stairs. Just going to let you know ahead of time.
Yeah, and if you're claustrophobic, do not recommend.
No, the ceilings are very low. Very low.
Just thinking about that.
Yeah, on that note, we'll see you
later.
next week. À bientôt.
Au revoir.